My educational giant is Alexander Sutherland Neill, also known as A.S. Neill. He was born in Forfar, Scotland on October 17, 1883. He had always had a love for education ever since he was a child, mainly because of his father's influence, who was a school teacher in Scotland. At the age of 14, he studied under his father for 4 years until he went to Edinburgh University. He originally wanted to major in agriculture, but then changed his major to English. He then got his master's degree in 1912. He was married twice. His second wife, Edna Wood Neill, was the school administrator, and then their daughter, Zoe Redhead, was the headmistress of Summerhill School and carried on her father's legacy. In 1921, he founded the Summerhill School in Dresden, Germany. Over these years, he wrote dozens of books and articles, which we still have today that influence our school system. These books are what brought him his fame that we know him as today. He then died on September 23, 1973. A.S. Neill's philosophy was mainly an extension of the existentialist, and which means he thought that students make decisions in rules. He was an advocate of personal freedom for children and also believed that students direct their own learning. So he believed that the educational system was mainly focused on the child instead of the knowledge, which also allowed for the students to take in moral responsibility. Because the students needed moral responsibility, the teachers played more of parent roles in the child's life. He believed that the aim of education was to feel joy and happiness, and that it was not necessarily all about the knowledge, but the child came first. The Summerhill School was an experimental school for free learning. It accepted delinquent children because they believed they could reform them in order to enhance a better society. This school had no compelled lessons or classes, meaning that all classes were optional and that it was the student's choice whether or not they attended. This was to allow the student to respond with motivation instead of self-indulgence. And this system resulted to be fairly functional, with most students choosing to attend class. Also, at the school, they held meetings 4 times a week where the students had the opportunity to vote on what they believed were the most important school issues, such as bullying or bedtimes or anything else in particular. The main goals of the school was first, freedom to grow emotionally, second, to gain power over their own lives, and third, time to develop naturally, and lastly, to create happier childhoods to remove fear and coercion by adults. The modern day effects that A.S. Neill gave on our generation was that the free school movement of the 1960s and 70s, and he is recognized as the top 12 people to influence British schooling in the last millennium. Also, he influenced many progressive educators of today and their teaching styles in the school system. Although his greatest influence was on how parents think of raising their children. He altered parents' minds because of child rearing, meaning this caused reflection on care and concern about the child's upbringing. Overall, Alexander Sutherland Neill's experimental school was a success. Although his idea has not been fully implemented in our current school system, certain aspects like children's freedom are still used to promote goodness in society today. Personally, I believe that there should be a balance between Neill's philosophy and traditional education, because Neill's belief that there should be no rules, but I believe that there should be a balance between no rules and limited freedom. Ultimately, Neill is entirely correct in the aspect that freedom creates more loving people and therefore can help cure the ills of humanity.